Yeah, welcome in. Welcome back to another live episode of the Format Podcast. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, appreciate you joining. Got a pretty interesting episode here today. Going to talk about some pretty interesting topics, mostly NBA, and then we're going to get to a little NFL at the end. Going to hit on this Michael Jordan couldn't go left, and we done with the 80s nonsense. Definitely going to talk about that. Going to talk about Kevin Durant passing Shaquille O'Neal on the all-time scoring list and where that has his legacy. I'm going to talk about this new Mind the Game podcast with LeBron James and man, what's my man's name? Dang, I totally forgot. But the Mind the Game podcast that LeBron James has with Redick. There we go. And of course, we're going to talk about Caleb Williams and the fact that he's almost certainly the number one overall pick in the upcoming NFL draft. But before we get to all that, you know what time it is. If you're here on YouTube and you haven't already, please make sure you go ahead, click that like, that subscribe, that notification bell. Make sure you're kept up to date whenever we drop new content on the channel. If you want the audio-only version of the podcast, open up your audio podcast platform, hit the search bar, type in the Format Podcast, and we should come right up. If you're enjoying the content, make sure you give us that like, that 5-star review, and drop a comment. All that stuff helps us rise in the algorithm, helps us find more sports fans, helps more sports fans find us. And finally, make sure you write it down, put it in your phone, set an alarm, do whatever you got to do to remember. Saturday nights at 7 p.m. we are live here on the Format Podcast, and we'll give you the opportunity to call in. All right, so the next one, and this was real interesting to me. I actually did a show about it earlier during the week, was LeBron James and Redick started a new podcast together. It's called Mind the Game. And I definitely wanted to make sure, look, y'all know I'm not a LeBron James fan. I don't got a front on that, right? But I wanted to make sure that what I did was listen to the podcast so that I would have a fair reference point when I'm addressing it. I have no issue with doing that. And also, I know Redick is a pretty sharp guy when it comes to X's and O's. So I figured, hey, I could learn something. I never played ball on a high level, so I'm interested in hearing what JJ and LeBron have to say in terms of X's and O's, because how they marketed the show was that it was going to be a pure basketball podcast. And it started off at the beginning, and JJ was kind of going over some of the terminology for different play calls and sets that some NBA teams use. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. I can learn something from this. That's what's up. And then LeBron came in and, LeBron James does what LeBron James does. So before I go ahead and play some clips from that, you saw the show, correct?
Yep.
All right. What were your feelings on it? What did you think about it?
I thought he talked to his fan base. Yep. He spoke to his fan base, and he was building his brand for the exit. Right. He kept it open for, those debatable subjects and topics.
Mm-hmm.
He pretty much keeping the people talking. That was pretty much it. I didn't really get a whole lot out of it because, I'm a huge basketball fan myself. So it was entertaining. It was, but it was still kind of a little dry. So the teach his own, right? Like,
right.
But that was my views on it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, the difference where you and I would be on that is obviously, you've been in the college basketball environment. So you've played at that level. So you're more familiar with that verbiage and some of these play calls and the sets and stuff like that than I would be, just having played pickup with different people in different places, all over the place. But obviously nobody's calling out plays, right? in the pickup game. It's just, you're lucky if you get a screen or a pick in the pickup game, right? Just clear out, and whoever nice is going to try to take it one-on-one. But I totally get it. But like I said, when it first started and JJ was doing his thing, I was like, okay, this could be cool. But let me go ahead and I'm going to play the first clip I have from LeBron. And this clip I like to call LeBron tooting his own horn. This is a little longer. Check this out. We'll be back to discuss it.
Are you born with basketball IQ? Or are you taught the game the right way and now the basketball IQ clicks on? Like, I was literally just, when you was explaining that, because I come from, I believe, great coaching. From my Little League coach, Frank Walker, senior, to my, at the time, AAU coach, Coach Drew Joyce, to my high school coach, who was a former college coach, Coach Dambrot, and then my AAU coach took over when Coach Dambrot went back to college basketball. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I was taught the game the right way. But the one thing that those coaches always told me, they told me that I had an uncanny ability to process information faster than anyone they've ever seen. One coach, and this is, I know you're gonna smirk about this. There's guys in the NBA that if you call a play or a coach draw a play to one side of the floor, they can't switch it in their head and do it and say, let's run it to the other side without the coach drawing on the clipboard.
Yeah.
I've never understood that. And I don't know. I never understood that. So if I say we running thumb down angle, we're running on the right side. So because I have a left-hand point guard, he wants to come middle to a strong hand. He has the ability to hit the pocket pass with the left hand, has the ability to throw ahead, he's lefty, and also has the ability to throw back on the shake. But if I say, hey, we run a thumb down angle on the left side because now the right-hand guard coming right, I've had teammates that's like, oh, what do you mean? Coaches always, in practice, we only ran it from this side.
Yeah.
I could flip a play when I was 8 years old. No matter if it was just pass and cut, no matter if it was, let's run flex, but let's start on the left side. No matter if it was just, let's DHO, drive and kick. The last one, all right, now let's just drive the baseline, drive, drift. If the forward on the left side is looking at the ball, you can slot cut. I could do that. I was doing that stuff when I was like 8, 9 years old, and my coaches would just be blown away, and I wouldn't know where it came from. I have no idea. So to get back to your question, I think I was born with a sports IQ, and it could have been any sport, but I just think basketball was the one that I chose, and maybe I was chosen to do that as well.
Okay, G. So I'm gonna start with you on that, man. What are your thoughts on LeBron's comments there? I know it was a lot, but where are you on that?
LeBron, he kind of backed up. What we saying now is him giving you context on how and why he's the greatest player of this era, right? Of his era, I should say. And it's entertaining. It really is. It's truly entertaining to kind of hear. Yeah, I know he wasn't. But at the same time, man, like you don't just wake up. He's not the average player, right?
No, he's not.
He's not the average player, and he's the best player in his era. 40,000 points, multiple champ. No.
Kobe's the best player in his era. He has put up the most statistics in his era. He's not the best player in his era, but go ahead.
Kobe's not around right now, so this is currently his era.
Okay. Touche.
Yeah, this is the end of his show. This is the end of, this is his final walk, bro. So
all right, that's fair.
That's how I see it.
No, that's fair.
He's definitely doing his thing right now, and I think this should be, his kumbaya or his so long, or what is the term they coin it? So long, farewell tour. Farewell tour. Yeah. It should be his farewell tour, but it may not be. But yeah, I it's good to hear context on why he believes he's the greatest player of his era or of all time, and I think that's what that show was about. It was about saying, "Hey, this is why I'm the best player to ever play the game because I can flip plays and I'm better than you."
You know what? So that's fair. I really don't have a problem with that, right? Except for the fact that you told us that the show was going to be pure basketball. So we tuned in thinking we was going to get something else. Well, not me, because I before that show even came out, I actually did another show previously talking about how I thought that it was just going to be another arm of the LeBron propaganda move, right? And turns out I was right. So let's look at it this way, right? So there's people who can't do what I can do, right? Not everybody can go watch a game and then write up a game story on a deadline, go to the post-game press conference, get the questions, get the quotes, and get that story in, right, for deadline. A lot of people can't do that. I have a chief, I have a friend who was a chief warrant officer in the Army, Signalair, and he's certified ethical hacker, and he can do this and he can do that. I can't do that. I'm not capable. I don't have those things, right?
Right.
I can't be a compliance analyst for a financial institution. I can't do that. I can't dunk a basketball. I can't do that. I'm saying all these things that I can't do and things that I can do that other people can't do, because a guy who's supposed to be as smart as LeBron should be able to realize everybody can't do what everybody can do. That's just not how the world is made. That's not how people are made. So even if you're within the same industry, I still may not be able to do the same things as you. So you getting on this show here specifically for the point of, as I said earlier, tooting your own horn, that's crazy to me. You're out here throwing your former teammates under the bus. Thank goodness he didn't say their names. It wouldn't surprise me if he did, but thank goodness he didn't say their names. He's throwing his teammates under the bus about what they couldn't do and what other NBA guys couldn't do. And then he's talking about how, I was able to do this at 8 years old. I don't doubt that, right? Because many prodigies can do things at a tremendously young age, right? Beethoven and Mozart, these dudes was writing symphonies before they were teenagers. Outstanding. Totally get it, right? Napoleon Bonaparte, Genghis Khan, two of the greatest military commanders who ever lived. Everybody can't do what they could do. I get it. But you're on here and you see where I'm going with this? Like your whole thing was to get on here and brag and talk, I could do this and I could do that. Well, that's great, LeBron. We know you're great. But if you were as great as you thought you were, you wouldn't need to have to try and tell us all the time. See, this is what gets me. Why doesn't his play talk for him? But he has to tell us all the time. And let's look at it this way. Again, since the argument is LeBron and Michael Jordan, have we ever heard Michael Jordan tell us how great he is? No. Now, he might have told opponents on the floor, right? We never heard Magic tell us how great he is, or Bird, or Kareem, or any of these guys, right? They didn't have to do that. Why does he?
Yeah, there's definitely a difference. You'll hear more players that play with Michael Jordan tell you how lethal he is,
right?
Versus him having to get on a soapbox and say, I'm the greatest to ever do it.
That's right. So, and even if you look at it from a what do you call this? A generational difference. Steph Curry don't tell us, and he's beaten LeBron multiple times in the finals, has he not? But he don't have to get out here and tell us how great he is. He just goes and he does his work and he lets his work do the talking. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. But okay, so the next part, again, remember, the whole point of Mind the Game is supposed to be that it's supposed to be pure basketball. They're supposed to be teaching us about basketball. And I know that that's something JJ Redick has been rearing to do, because he actually a couple of weeks back got into it with Stephen A on First Take, talking about, teaching the game. And this is supposed to be his opportunity to do that. But really, I think it's just a LeBron glaze fest, but that's a different thing. But let's hey, that's what we see. And that was why it was brilliant of LeBron to choose JJ Redick, because he knows there's going to be no pushback on most of what he says. But let's go now to LeBron talking about who he believes are the most influential players in NBA history. And we'll see how interesting it is that somebody we know got left out. Check it out.
I'm the influence since I've been watching the game. The most influence on the game. And obviously we know what Mike did for the game.
Sure.
But Steph and Allen Iverson are the two biggest influential guys in our game since I've been watching and covering it. One, they're 6'3", 6'4", if you want to.
Steph's not 6'4".
If you want to look on the back of a basketball card, you're always a lot taller on the back of the basketball card. Allen Iverson and Steph, they were just so relatable, and kids felt like they could be them. They were guys that was not always counted on. They were small in stature, and they just defined the odds. So you got AI, who's like unbelievable crossover, cornrows, arm sleeve. We wear arm sleeve. Everyone wears an arm sleeve now because of Allen Iverson.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going in the trenches, laying it up over bigs, whatever the case may be. And now you have Steph, who's shooting over the Empire State Building. It's like those two are the two most influential when you say the game, how they changed the game, and the kids, and like, those are two guys that you just wanted to watch every single night.
Okay, so Pam, thank you for your comment. He did say, obviously, we know what Mike did for the game, but then he immediately follows it up by saying that Steph Curry and Allen Iverson are the two most influential players. Now, one, let me say this: I have never ever denigrated the amount of influence that Allen Iverson had on not just the game but basketball culture on the whole. And as we see the way the game is played now, Steph Curry, right? So I'm not going to argue that. We know how influential those guys were. But let's look at it this way. LeBron just told us that Allen Iverson and Steph Curry are two most influential. But let's hear what Allen Iverson, the guy who he said is most influential, has to say about that.
Without his vision, I promise you, there wouldn't be no Hall of Fame Allen Iverson standing at this podium if it wasn't for this guy. He gave me the vision, man. And, you want to be fast like Isaiah, and you want to shoot like Bird, rebound like Barkley, pass like Magic, be dominant like Shaq. But, man, I wanted to be like Mike.
It's that simple. There it is right there. The same guy who is supposed to be the most influential. And don't get me wrong, he was extremely influential. Just told you what it is. He just told you what it is. G, your thoughts?
I think I look at Kobe being left out. I thought Kobe definitely changed the game, and it could be that they were they played against each other, but right now he's in a Lakers uniform, and so passing the opportunity to big up Kobe, I thought that was a little different. But yeah, man, like everybody get their opinion right on who they believe is the most influential player in the game or how the game was changed. So, man, it's subjective.
No doubt. I do believe him. I believe so. This is my thing. I don't know if I've said this. I'm sure I've said this. I believe LeBron is a deeply insecure guy. I really do. The fact that he constantly has to tell us he's the greatest. The fact that he constantly has to avoid, discussion and mention of Kobe. Notice he wasn't at Kobe's statue unveiling. He wasn't at Kobe's funeral. Notice that he tries to avoid, Michael Jordan talk. All these things. I think he's deeply insecure because he knows he's not those guys. And that's fine. He doesn't have to be those guys, but you're telling us that you're the greatest, but you're avoiding that, right? You're ducking the smoke, as they say. Here's the other thing for me.
It could be that killer instinct, that killer instinct that they both shared.
Oh, we already know about that.
Yeah. That's possibly what it could be. They both had that killer instinct, and they never back down, regardless of their size. So maybe that could be one of the things.
Yeah. I think with the Kobe thing, because you've heard a number of players say it, former and current, and I've also said this. I find it super interesting that LeBron has somehow just magically jumped over Kobe in the all-time rankings. And I think part of that is the trouble that he got in Eco Colorado. And I think that with current social climate, the NBA is probably hesitant to put a guy on that level as much as Kobe ended up becoming revered by players, etc. I think they're careful in how they deal with him in terms of that because they don't want to get attacked by certain members of society based on the fact that he got in trouble, with a sexual assault accusation, Pam Brown, he was definitely at Kobe funeral. So Stephen A. Smith said he wasn't. So if he was there, I'm speaking after Stephen A. Smith. Maybe and I don't. So I don't know for sure. I'm not going to argue it, but that's LeBron cleared Kobe 2016. Okay, we're all entitled to our opinions. That's cool. Yeah, so anyway, so like I was saying, I do believe that LeBron is a deeply insecure dude. That's why he has to push so hard to try and prove this thing to us that most of us know probably isn't true in terms of his standing as being the greatest of all time. By the way, if you just came into the room, I appreciate you being here. Please go ahead and click that like. Make sure you do that for us. Definitely helps us along. Okay, yeah, so Yeah, I thought this was just really interesting. And don't get me wrong, I'm still going to watch the next episode. I think it comes out on Tuesday of the Mind the Game pod, because again, I am looking forward to hopefully the opportunity to learn something further about the X's and O's of basketball. And, you know, we'll see if it continues to be a LeBron glazing himself fest, but we'll find out.
I
Okay.
think we should open the lines.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that, G. Yeah, let's do that. So let's go ahead. We'll open the phone lines up right now. If you want an opportunity to call in, give me your thoughts on that. It's going to be 904-219-8264. 904-219-8264. Go ahead, give us a call, and we'll talk about that. Can't wait to hear from you.